I guess we can kind of segue this to the game Monday night because it kind of ties it in. Like, are there any similarities here with the Chiefs and the Eagles? Because like, maybe the lack of explosion, that just the way these teams have finished the year, it's probably just a little because of the type of year. They went to the Super Bowl, both teams last year. It was a long,
Yeah.
physical, grueling season last year. And now you're a little bit older. Like you mentioned it with Kelsey, the Eagles are older. Injuries, like it's probably just kind of a cumulative effect on last year, the number of games that you played, and then just kind of coming back, and then over the course of this year, just kind of wearing down, and
Yeah.
like I think there's something to that, and Philly is a team right now that I would want absolutely no part of it. I know Tampa is not good uh, at all, but I mean there were a couple of things in this game I thought were interesting. I like the Bucks in this game +3,
Yeah.
and you can and you were Jeff was mentioning maybe teasing this up a little bit before, but Philly, their defense over the last 6, 7, 8 games or whatever is
Atrocious.
been probably worst defense in the league. It just looks like something is wrong in the locker room. They've got injuries. This team couldn't get the Cardinals off the field a couple of weeks ago. They lost to the Giants last week. Yeah, maybe there was a little just like wave the white flag and get some guys some rest last week. But there is absolutely nothing that instills any confidence. I made the analogy a couple of weeks back about how the Eagles are going full 86 Jets on us here, starting off 10-1 and then finishing up 10-6. And the Jets, oh, by the way, did rally and win the wild card game that they had at home before Charlie Steiner proclaimed that the Jets are going to Cleveland when they're up 20-10 with 4 minutes to go, before they wind up losing in double overtime after Mark Gastineau gets a personal foul. You can tell I've lived this.
This isn't a therapy session, but it's a podcast.
It is. It's just, it's all coming out now. But 27 years later, it's still
Browns 37 double overtime game. It's 37, but I was born in 86.
Yeah, 86. It should have been. We should have had a Jets Giants Super Bowl that year, but we didn't. But anyway, I know Tampa was all out to beat Carolina last week, and I know Baker looks like he's just kind of like pieced together by duct tape, but I can't trust Philly at all here, laying points on the road. I like the Bucks. I think the Bucks will win the game outright.
Boy, I will say this: if you bet this game and you lose, you're going to feel like an idiot no matter who you took. Because if the Bucks fall 5-0,
well, I'm going to feel like an idiot regardless. Exactly.
Right. You're like, Philly's obviously the much more talented team, and you mentioned the 86 Jets. I'm glad you did. Sometimes when you struggle, I remember the Vikings had a team like this in 2004. They started really well, struggled to the finish line, backed into the playoffs, needed, I think, Washington to lose to get in. So they got in at 8-8, and then they won in Green Bay. Sometimes you just get hit the reset button. You know what? You can flush everything. We're 0-0. We start from scratch. Remember this time last year, and I mentioned this game last week. Dallas went to Washington last year, and they needed a massive upset for their game to matter. And they said, you know what? We're not going to get that upset. They went through the motions. They got killed by Washington. Everyone picked Tampa to beat Dallas, and Dallas went in there and killed them. I'm not confident enough to pick Philly, but I would worry that I don't know. I don't like Tampa. Here's the thing. I watched a lot of Tampa, Carolina last week, and my eyes are still recovering from that. Tampa was dying to give that game away. Carolina couldn't get in the end zone. Shark fumbles at the 1. They had a touchdown call back. They missed a field goal. Baker's limping around. Like, I'd love to ideally fade both of these teams. The hard part is they're playing each other.
So I just don't know if your examples of teams that struggled and then win the postseason. I mean, it might happen because Tampa's not good, but the Eagles have real issues. I mean, guys, they tried to play hard in the first half. They tried to beat the Giants in the first half. And we're down 24-0.
Yeah, because the Cowboys game was a game.
Correct. And they were trying to play hard. You mentioned the injuries, right? No Smith last week. Then Brown gets hurt, and you see an offense like without any wide receiving options. And look what happens. And defensively, they are atrocious. They're 28th in DVOA on defense, which is shocking compared to what they were last season. Barrett, you sent over some wagers to us, some kind of just general, let's look at the weekend wagers. One of them was one of them was most receiving yards for a wide receiver on this weekend, guys. Mike Evans was plus 1,800. I kind of like that. You look at the Eagles' pass defense.
I fired on it, Jeff. I took your advice. I fired on it.
Can't stop anyone. And Mike Evans, we know, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I think one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. again, Baker Mayfield's not great. He's okay. But against the Eagles defense, he might look like Tom Brady. So I think Evans in this spot will plus 1,800 feels like a good number for what damage he can do in this game. I think that obviously the concerns are like a CeeDee Lamb or a Puka Nacua or an Amon-Ra St. Brown, getting up 150. But to me, plus 1,800 for Mike Brown to be the leading receiver of the weekend was good value for me.
I like that one. I might jump on that. Yeah, the Eagles hit the 2-team parlay last week of they got their guys hurt and they didn't win. So you figure, all right, let's win. Let's feel good about ourselves. Or do we rest our guys and we keep them healthy? You didn't do either one. You lost. You played like crap. You look like crap, and you got your guys hurt. So not a good. We don't think with all the coaching craziness going on, we don't think if Philly lost this game, Sirianni would be in trouble, right? That would be too much.
I can't see that. I saw that.
Absolutely.
Like,
yes,
absolutely.
It's Philly, man. Look. They got rid of Doug Peterson ASAP. They got rid of Chip Kelly ASAP. I mean, Chip Kelly had 2 10-6 seasons, then went 6-10 and got rid of him. They got rid of, again, Peterson. I mean, look, the
Peterson, the year after we went to Super Bowl, right? 2 years after? I think it doesn't matter when it was. The point is this. When you try to when you fire a coach, you try to upgrade, right? And now there's a lot of openings this year, so there might be a lot of options, and you might not get the guy you want. But if Sirianni doesn't call plays, right? He's not a play caller. He's not a defensive guy. He's just a CEO guy. And if you're the CEO guy and your team stinks for last week's 6 weeks of the season, like you can say, like, look, let's say you're an offensive play caller and your offense stinks. You can make the case, okay, fine, I'll give up play calling duty. I'll let someone else call plays or defensively. I'll call plays now. What's Sirianni going to say? I'm going to fire my coaches and hire brand new coaches? I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to be comfortable with him keeping when they could get someone else. I don't know who the someone else is. I'm not, but I think his job is, let's say, not safe if they lose. I'll put it like that. Interesting. Do
you think it's safe if they lose? That means they've lost 6 of their last 7 games after a Super Bowl run starting 10-1 with a team that regressed all season long. Are they going to blame him? Or are they going to blame Howie Roseman? Like, who's getting blamed?
I'd say 10-20%.
Okay.
I think there's a chance it could happen. See, I'm always opposed. Look,
I'm opposed to firing too.
No, I'm not opposed to firing. I'm opposed to like knee jerk
reaction firing. Yeah.
Like you had a bunch of injuries. Things you won some games earlier in the they just might not be that good this year. I mean, because remember earlier in the year we're like, they won another game. Oh, they pulled another one out. Like maybe this team just wasn't that good this year, and the record was kind of fake.
But what happens when like Jason Kelce retires and Lane's getting up there in age and you have to revamp your defense? Is Sirianni the guy who's going to get all this done with new players? I mean, it's a fair question to ask. I don't have an answer. I'm asking a question.
You look, the Patriots game, first game of the year, they very easily could have lost. The Vikings game week 2 was another. Commanders, the overtime game. Both Commanders game, Cowboys game where the Cowboys threw the ball into the end zone at the end. Chiefs game, there are all these games that they really should have lost.
Yeah.
Like I just don't know if they're that good.
I don't watch them.
I don't think they are.
Bear Bets full episodes drop twice a week right here on the Bear Bets YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to stay ahead of the odds, and let's celebrate all of our wins together.